Don't let them think we're a couple. That was the first thing my wife whispered to me as we stepped into the grand ballroom of her new company's gala. Not "thank you for coming," not "you look handsome tonight." Just that. 7 sharp words that landed like ice water in my chest. I blinked, stunned. "What?" I whispered back, but she didn't answer. She simply smiled at a group of colleagues across the room, adjusted the strap of her emerald dress, and walked ahead as if she hadn't just erased me from her life in front of hundreds of strangers. The chandeliers above sparkled with golden light, waiters drifted past with silver trays, and an orchestra filled the air with soft music. It was the kind of event most people would be honored to attend, yet all I could think about was what my wife had just said. Don't let them think we're a couple. Why? Why would she want to hide me? I told myself it was nerves. Emily had just started at this company a month ago. Maybe she wanted to appear professional, detached, independent. Maybe she thought people would respect her more if they didn't see her as someone's wife. But deep down, the words cut deeper than I wanted to admit. I followed her, but not too closely. She was already moving from group to group, greeting coworkers with that dazzling smile of hers, shaking hands, laughing at jokes. She looked like she belonged here, like she'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. And me, I felt like the outsider. I grabbed a glass of sparkling water from a passing waiter and leaned against a tall table near the edge of the room. My eyes never left her, though. She was glowing, confident, magnetic, and yet she never once acknowledged me. Not a glance, not a wave, nothing. It was as if I didn't exist. I tried to shrug it off. I told myself I was just here to support her, nothing more. This was her night. If she wanted to pretend I was just another guest, I could live with that for now. But then I saw him, the CEO. He walked into the circle of conversation Emily was in, towering over the others, his presence commanding the room in an instant. Tall, sharp-featured, dressed in a black tuxedo that seemed cut from shadows, he had the kind of aura that made everyone instinctively stand straighter. This was the man who signed her checks, the one who held her future in his hands. Emily's smile brightened as she greeted him, but as he shook her hand, his eyes flicked past her, to me. It was only for a second, but I saw it. His expression shifted. His polite smile faltered just slightly. Then he looked back at Emily, studying her as though he just realized something was terribly wrong. The air seemed to tighten. He said something to her. I couldn't hear what, but she nodded quickly, too quickly, as if trying to cover something up. The group laughed politely, though none of them seemed to understand what had just passed between the CEO and my wife. Then, out of nowhere, he reached forward and grabbed Emily gently but firmly by the arm. The chatter around us dimmed. His face had gone pale. His voice, though quiet, carried across the space between us. "Do you have any idea?" he said, his tone trembling with disbelief. "Whose guest you just said that to?" My heart slammed in my chest. Emily froze. Her eyes darted toward me, wide and terrified, the first time she had even looked at me all evening. And just like that, every head in their circle turned. They were all staring at me now, as though I were some puzzle piece that didn't fit, some mystery they'd overlooked until this moment. The music still played. The waiters still moved through the room. But for us, the gala had gone silent. Emily opened her mouth, but no words came. Her lips trembled. The CEO leaned in closer to her ear and whispered something I couldn't catch. Whatever it was, it drained the color from her face. Her shoulders stiffened, her breathing quickened, and she looked at me not with frustration, not with annoyance, but with sheer fear. I tightened my grip on my glass, unsure if I should step forward or stay frozen where I was. Because for the first time that night, I realized something. This wasn't about me embarrassing her. This wasn't about professionalism. Something much, much bigger was happening. And my wife was caught right in the middle of it. The CEO's hand remained on Emily's arm, his knuckles white against the fabric of her dress. She stood frozen, eyes locked on me, like a person suddenly trapped between fire and ice. I finally stepped forward. My glass of sparkling water trembled in my grip, the surface rippling as if even it sensed the tension in the air. The crowd parted slightly, instinctively making space. People didn't know what was happening, but they knew it wasn't ordinary. "Is there a problem here?" I asked, my voice steady though my pulse raced. The CEO didn't answer me directly. Instead, he looked at Emily, as though she held the explanation. His expression was unreadable, somewhere between fear and respect. "Emily," he said carefully, his tone low but sharp enough for those nearby to hear, "do you realize who you just asked to pretend not to be your husband?" Emily's lips parted, but no words came. She looked like someone caught in headlights, blinking, shaking her head slightly, as if she wanted to deny something but couldn't find the courage. The CEO's eyes turned to me again. His grip on her arm loosened, almost as if touching her while speaking of me was suddenly dangerous. "You should have told us," he said at last. The room's chatter swirled back in fragmented pieces, whispers breaking out like sparks from a fire. Faces turned toward me, curious, confused, some even wary. I felt their eyes press into my skin, a weight I hadn't anticipated. Told them what? Emily finally spoke, her voice trembling. I didn't think it mattered. The CEO snapped his head toward her. Didn't matter? His voice carried, drawing even more attention. He lowered it again, but the damage was done. Emily, it matters more than you could possibly imagine. I frowned, stepping closer now. What are you talking about? The CEO studied me, his gaze heavy, almost reverent. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, as if carefully measuring his words. Finally, he leaned toward me slightly. Forgive me, he said. I didn't realize you would be here. If I had, I would have prepared the team differently. Prepared the team? The phrase struck me oddly, like this wasn't just a gala, but a stage set for something far bigger. Emily tugged her arm free, her face pale and desperate. Please, she whispered to him, don't say anything more. But it was too late. The circle of guests had swelled, executives and managers craning their necks, eager to understand the sudden rupture in what had been a polished, glamorous evening. The music felt distant now, drowned beneath the thrum of speculation. The CEO finally straightened, his decision made. His voice came out calm, but every syllable cut clean through the air. You didn't tell anyone, he said, looking straight at Emily, that your husband is the reason this company exists. The words fell like thunder. The crowd gasped, some audibly, others with widened eyes and whispered exchanges. I froze, my brain scrambling to process. What did he mean? Emily's hand shot out as if to grab his arm, to silence him, but he pulled away, his eyes flashing with disappointment. He built this, the CEO continued, gesturing vaguely toward the opulent room, the very company hosting the gala, not just a part of it, the foundation, the strategies we still follow, the patents, the contracts. You're standing beside the very man whose name is buried in the roots of this empire. The air thickened with disbelief. Me, I shook my head slowly. That's not possible. I've never worked for this company. The CEO tilted his head, his lips pressing into a thin smile that wasn't really a smile at all. Maybe not directly, but I know your face. Everyone who's been here long enough knows it. Some of us remember the deals, the investors who wouldn't sign until you walked into the room, and the silence agreements that erased your involvement when you chose to step away. The crowd erupted with whispers. Step away. Who is he? Why wouldn't she say? Emily's face crumpled. She gripped the stem of her wine glass so hard I thought it might shatter. I told you, she hissed at me, her voice trembling. I told you not to let them think we were a couple. Now it made sense, at least partly. She hadn't wanted people to connect her to me, not because she was ashamed of me, but because she'd been hiding something. The CEO stepped closer, his voice lowering again, meant only for us. If this gets out tonight, Emily, your career here is over before it begins. Do you understand? She flinched, eyes darting between him and me. My pulse hammered in my ears. Over? Why? If I really was tied to the origins of this company, if I really was the shadow behind its walls, why would her career be destroyed just by being my wife? Unless the truth about how this company was built wasn't something they wanted anyone to know. The CEO glanced at me once more, his tone clipped. I suggest you both step outside. Now, before questions start that neither of you are ready to answer. He didn't wait for our response. He turned and walked away, leaving behind a circle of bewildered employees and executives buzzing with speculation. Emily finally grabbed my hand, not gently this time, but like someone holding on for dear life, and pulled me toward the exit. My voice was low, shaking with both anger and confusion. Emily, what aren't you telling me? She didn't answer. She just kept pulling me through the maze of guests, out the side doors, and into the quiet night air. The cool breeze hit my face, but it did nothing to calm the storm raging inside me. I pulled my hand from hers. Talk to me, now. Her eyes glistened, her chest heaving. She looked at me as though I'd just stepped out of a nightmare she thought she'd escaped. I never wanted you to come tonight, she whispered. Because the truth about this company, the truth about you, isn't what you think it is. The words lodged in my chest like shards of glass. What do you mean? I demanded. Emily looked away, her jaw tightening. You don't remember, do you? I never wanted you to come tonight, Emily said, her voice trembling in the cool night air. Because the truth about this company, the truth about you, isn't what you think it is. Her words cut sharper than the night wind. I stared at her, stunned, my breath caught in my chest. What do you mean? I demanded. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Instead, she wrapped her arms around herself, like she was suddenly freezing. You don't remember anything. I stepped closer, my confusion twisting into frustration. Emily, stop speaking in riddles. Remember what? What are you hiding from me? Her eyes finally rose to mine, glistening with fear. This company, the one hosting the gala, it wouldn't exist without you. But not because you founded it, not because you built it, but because you were the one who tried to take it down. The words slammed into me, my heart lurched, my mind a swirl of disbelief. That's insane. I've never even worked there. I've never— You did, she cut in, her voice sharp. Years ago, before you and I met, you fought them. You tried to expose what they were doing, the way they were building their empire on secrets, on people they hurt, on deals that were never meant to see daylight. You were relentless. You almost brought them to their knees. My throat went dry. I searched her face for some sign this was a cruel joke, but all I saw was terror and grief. And then, I asked, barely more than a whisper. Her lips trembled. And then, they erased you. The world tilted beneath me, erased me. You were silenced, she said. Your evidence disappeared. Your name was scrubbed from every record. People were paid off, documents destroyed. They made you vanish, but they couldn't erase your face. That's why the CEO recognized you tonight. That's why he panicked. I staggered back a step, gripping the railing by the garden path. Flashes of memories tugged at the edges of my mind. Boardrooms, heated arguments, signing documents, handing over files. A younger version of myself, angry, determined. Then blankness, like a film reel cut to black. My voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me this? Emily's tears spilled now, glistening under the golden light spilling from the ballroom windows. Because I thought it was over. When we met, you didn't remember any of it. I thought maybe it was better that way. Safer. I wanted us to have a normal life. No danger. No enemies. Just us. Her words rang with sincerity, but my chest tightened. So you lied to me. Every single day you knew who I was, what I'd done, and you said nothing. I didn't lie, she whispered. I protected you. If the company knew you were alive, if they knew you were still out there, they would have finished what they started. Anger burned through me, colliding with confusion and the faint stirrings of half-remembered truths. And now, I asked, my voice hard, now that the CEO has recognized me, what happens? She shook her head. Now, we're in danger again. The sound of the ballroom doors creaking open behind us made both of us turn. 2 men in suits stepped out. Security. Their eyes locked on me, then flicked to Emily. One of them spoke into an earpiece. They're coming for us, Emily said, panic rising in her voice. We have to go. Now. Adrenaline surged through me. Without another word, I grabbed her hand, this time not letting go. We bolted down the marble steps into the shadowed gardens, weaving between trimmed hedges and fountains. The night was alive with the hum of the city beyond, but all I heard was the pounding of my heartbeat and the crunch of gravel beneath our feet. Where are we going? I hissed. There's someone I can call, she said breathlessly. Someone who still remembers what you did. Someone who can help us finish it once and for all. Finish it. The phrase struck deep, awakening a fire inside me. Memories flickered sharper now. Meetings in dim rooms, late-night phone calls, threats whispered down the line. My younger self had been reckless, but he'd been right. The company wasn't just powerful, it was corrupt to its core. We reached a darkened side street, the sound of footsteps echoing behind us. Emily fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking. Before she could dial, headlights flared at the end of the street. A black car rolled toward us slowly, menacingly. The same security men from before stepped out of the shadows behind us, closing in. We were trapped. Emily clutched my arm. You have to remember, please, whatever they erased, whatever they took from you, you're the only one who can stop them. And in that moment, something inside me clicked. A memory slammed into me so hard I staggered. A contract with the company's logo, my signature scrawled across the bottom. A deal I hadn't wanted to sign but had been forced to. Signing away the evidence, the rights, everything I'd uncovered. Signing it under duress, with men in dark suits standing behind me, reminding me what would happen if I refused. I had sacrificed myself to protect someone else. I turned to Emily slowly, my voice hoarse. It was you, I whispered. I signed it to protect you. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted, trembling. You remember? The men were nearly upon us now. The car doors opened. Shadows loomed. Yes, I said, my fists clenching, my blood boiling with rage and clarity. And I'm not running anymore. For the first time that night, Emily's fear melted into something else. Hope. The men closed in, but I stepped forward, placing myself between them and my wife. The fire of my forgotten past burning bright once more. Whatever came next, one thing was certain. The truth was no longer buried, and this time, I wasn't going to let them erase me.